Okay, you guys, today we're going to be talking about some vocabulary for our new expressions unit. The first word we're going to go over is term. And a term can be three different things. It can either be a number, it can be a variable, and we'll talk about that, what that means in just a minute. But I'll put in parentheses the simplified version, which is a letter. Or it could be a number and letter together. Okay? And a lot of times these will be used in either an expression. It will be found in an expression or equation. So I'll show you what that looks like. When we say a number, we mean something like, say, 7 or 12 or 1/2. It doesn't need to be anything in particular as long as it's a number. When we say a variable, we could say something like A or X or F, whatever letter is used. And when we say a number and letter together, we mean something like 3x or maybe 1/2 D or maybe 0.4 Y. It could be absolutely anything as long as it's a number and letter together. 7A, anything like that. So when you are looking at an equation or expression, something like 7D plus 3, you would have two terms. You have one term here and one term here. So you would have two terms. We can do another example of an equation. X minus 7 equals 5. In this case, you would have three terms. You have your x, you have your 7, and you have your 5. So you would have three terms. What you're going to do now is once you are done writing all of this down, you're going to pause this video and you're going to talk to your partner about what a term is. Make sure you're giving some examples. It'll really be helpful. So go ahead and pause your video and we'll go ahead and start the class discussions. Okay, let's talk about our next term. Our next term is constant. In order for something to be a constant is a number on its own. Number on its own. And we'll talk about what that means. For instance, some examples of constants are 5, or maybe 1/2, or maybe you can write something like 29 or 103. It could be any number on its own. So let me give you some examples. For an expression, if you have an expression such as 7D minus 5, just ignore that bell. The constant in this case would be the 5. That would be our constant. If maybe you have an equation such as 5 over x equals 10. In this case, we have two constants. We have a constant here and a constant here. So anytime a number is on its own in an expression or an equation, it can be labeled a constant. All right. right, once you're done with this, you're going to do the same thing. We're going to give you some time to chew on the information, to talk to your partners, to give some examples. So go ahead and pause this video and have your discussion. Now that you're back, let's talk about a variable. And in this case, the term variable is usually a letter, or we can say symbol. So we'll say a letter or symbol representing a number. And we've already really been talking about this in the last couple of boxes, and we've seen it before. In fact, we saw it in our ratio and percents unit that we just did. And so let's talk about what a variable looks like. A variable could be something such as X or Y, D, A, anything in the alphabet that you can think of, C. We could go on and on and on. But if you're creating, if you want to look like what you want to know what it looks like in an expression, say for instance, we have 5x plus 2b minus 7. In this case, we have two variables. We have the variable x and the variable b. Both of them are representing something that is missing, a missing number. If you have an equation such as 2 plus, let's use the letter C equals 9, we have one variable. That would be the letter C. So in this case, a variable just represents a letter. It represents a number that's missing. Again, as soon as you're done with this, go ahead and pause it, and you can talk to your partners. Okay, lastly, let's talk about this last word, which is coefficient. Co means together. Therefore, when we talk about the word coefficient, we're talking about something that is together. All right? And so in this case, our definition for coefficient is a number used to multiply a variable. And I'll show you what that means in just a minute. So in this case, we're talking about multiplication. Now let me show you an example. That would be an example such as 2x, which is really the same as 2 times x. Or we could say, ignore the bell, we could say 3r, which is the same as 3 times r, right? So when we give an example of a coefficient, let's write an expression. Maybe we have 7 minus 9d. In this case, our coefficient would be the 9 because it's being multiplied to the 10. So anything, what I like to tell students is that they are stuck together. That's why we call it a coefficient. Stuck together. Write that down. Let's do an equation. What if I had 3 equals 4 a? In this case, I would have one coefficient, which would be the 4, because it's being multiplied to the a. In other words, they are stuck together. Again, we're going to have a quick little discussion with our partners about what a coefficient is, give each other some examples, and then we'll do one last activity. So go ahead and you can go ahead and close out the video now, and we will do one last activity as a class.